Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dhamma Ramu, Dhamma Ratu, Dhammang Anu Vichintayaṃ, Dhammang Anussaraṃ Bhikkhu, Saddhamma Na Parihayati. The Bhikkhu, the practitioner, who abides in the Dhamma, who delights in the Dhamma, meditates on the Dhamma, and bears Dhamma well in mind, will never fall away from the sublime Dhamma. Friends, this is one of the utterances of the Buddha from the Dhammapada. I guess you all know what Dhammapada is. Dhammapada is a collection of verses. It is considered, sometimes some people call it the Buddhist Bible. Such an important book, Dhammapada, where we can find 423 different verses which are very important for our life. So this is one of them. Today is the fourth day, fourth Dhamma talk. Fourth Dhamma talk on the 4 establishments of mindfulness. And eventually we want to come to the end with the 4 noble truths. 4, all 4. So it's the fourth Dhamma talk. I'm very happy to be here with you today for giving this Dhamma talk. For this Dhamma talk, our topic itself is the fourth section of the 4 establishments of mindfulness. The fourth section is the Dhammanupassana, means observation of mental objects as they are. Observation of mental objects as they are. Dhamma here means not the teaching, not basically the teachings of the Buddha, even other things, the objects, whatever the objects come to our mind, called Dhamma. Just like eye, the object is form. So mind, the objects are called Dhamma. So this Dhamma, first of all, we need to understand a little bit about Dhamma, the real Dhamma of the Buddha. You know, the real Dhamma of the Buddha, the central teaching is the 4 noble truths. Whatever we talk, whatever we practice, eventually we have to come to understand the 4 noble truths. Without understanding the 4 noble truths, without realizing the 4 noble truths, nobody can attain even the first stage, which is the stream enter. So 4 noble truth is such important. So whole teaching of the Buddha is based on 3 principles. The 4 noble truths, the dependent origination, and the 3 characteristics of existence. That is what is called real Dhamma. The real Dhamma, when we talk about real Dhamma, when you understand these things, you can understand 37 factors of enlightenment, which are again the expansion of the 3. 37 factors of enlightenment. These 37 factors start with the 4 establishments of mindfulness, Satipatthana. So this Dhamma the uniqueness of this Dhamma is that it gives us the opportunity to attain different stages in this holy life. Stream enterers, once returners, non-returners, then arhanships. There are 8 persons and 4 pairs. So these are possible only practicing this wonderful Dhamma. That is the uniqueness. So this Dhamma, as I said, the 37 factors of enlightenment are the factors, and which are started with the 4 establishments of mindfulness. That is our topic. So for the last couple of days, you must have learned, you must have understood the first 3 factors. Today we want to understand the 4th factor, 4th component of the 4 establishments of mindfulness. So this is the technique. 4 establishments of mindfulness is the technique of meditation of the Buddha. Whoever learned the Buddha's meditation should know what these 4 establishments of mindfulness are. Why? Because these 4 establishments of mindfulness teach us the Buddha's technique, both serenity and insight, samatha and vipassana. For this purpose, in order to teach this technique, Buddha delivered this particular discourse named Satipatthana Sutta, the great discourse on the 4 establishments of mindfulness, where from beginning to the end, Buddha talked about both serenity and insight. Again, these 2 are not 2 different methods, not 2 different meditations. These 2 should go together, hand in hand. When we practice, first of all, we have to practice samatha. Without practicing samatha, it is impossible to go to insight. Samatha, first we have to calm ourselves, to practice serenity meditation. And as the Buddha said in the discourse, we have to have energy to practice, we have to have determination to practice. Buddha said, practice ardently, not like lazy. Not lazily, ardently. We have to have firm resolution to practice. Even to sit for longer, we have to have determination. That is what the Buddha did. With the firm determination, we practice. Every sitting, we have to have a determination. I sit longer. With that idea, we have to sit. Then we can practice, continue ardently. Then Buddha said, understand clearly. Understanding clearly. Practice, whenever you practice, understand clearly. Whatever you experience, understand it clearly. Giving attention to your object, practice clearly. Understand clearly. Then with mindfully, practice mindfully. That is the instruction. Practice mindfully. And then said, equanimously, practice equanimously. This is the way to practice. When we practice, we can develop our concentration. So with that concentration, we can understand the first 3 components of the 4 establishments of mindfulness. Then we can understand feelings as feelings. You see, here in this sutta, in this technique, everything should be understood as it is. That is the important thing. Things as it is. Things as they are, whatever things. Not as they simply appear to be, but you to understand, you to try to see, try to penetrate things. So then you can understand your mind as well, mental mind as mind. So feelings as feeling, mind as mind. When you observe your breath, you can understand these different things. First to understand the breath and this body, breath body, this body. Second, to understand feelings. Third, to understand mind. Then fourth, to understand Dhamma, understand the mental objects. So when we come to understand mental objects, let's now come to understand mental objects. Dhammanupassana, this is called Dhammanupassana in Pali. Dhamma anupassana, three terms, three words here. Dhamma anu means accordingly. According to the Dhamma, according to what is going on. Passi means see. Passati, Buddha used two terms, know and see. Know and see. We have to know things and we have to see. See means not mere surface level. See means see true. That is vipassana. So here in this case, when you come to the fourth section, Dhammanupassana, it is to observe. It is to see things as they are. Observation. Just like you put something under the microscope and try to see it as it is, not as mine, not me, not myself, not your things. When you observe certain things with the microscope, you have to understand it as it is, without being biased. So, like that, we observe our own nature. When we observe our own nature, Buddha said, in order to practice in this manner, you have to have some qualities. Buddha said, even you have to refrain from 6 factors. Buddha said, if you are working, if you are doing lot of work, many different works, you delight in work, you cannot do that. You cannot observe these things. You to give up this. That is what you did for the last couple of days. You gave up everything and came here and practiced. So it's good. So like that, the Buddha said, refrain from being delight in work. That's the first thing. Refrain from delight in work. Secondly, said, refrain from delight in talking, too much talk. You cannot practice. You cannot observe your mental objects. Mental objects are not that you simply think in different things. Like some people do like this and thinking. Those are not mental objects. In this case, mental objects are your realizations. Dhamma. All mental objects are Dhamma. That is why it is called Dhammanupassana. So the first thing is refrain from delight in delight in work. Second, refrain from delight in talk. Third, refrain from delight in sleep, too much sleep. Then delight in company and being with the groups. And then refrain from eating too much and refrain from enticing, gratifying your senses. These are 6 different things. So we have to refrain from certain things and be calm, quiet, and practice. We have to have good concentration. That is the meaning. So with that good concentration, we can observe these things. While we are practicing meditation, if we have good concentration, we can understand what you call mental objects. Mental objects are, there are 5 different sections to be understood. Let's take this one by one. The first thing is, the Buddha said, how the practitioner practices observe mental objects as mental objects. First the Buddha said, the practitioner should understand 5 hindrances as they are. That's the first thing. Even when you sit for the first time, when you sit for your meditation, these are the friends coming slowly, slowly to disturb us, not to help us. Sensual desire. First, sensual desire. Then, laziness, sleepiness, ill will. Then, restlessness and worry and doubt. These are the 5 hindrances. When they first come, we cannot understand. We simply meditate, thinking many different things. Sensual desire. We have desire to please our senses. That is what is called sensual desire at the beginning. But later on, when we practice, later on we can subdue these 5 hindrances. Buddha once said, these 5 hindrances are like gross things in gold, different matters in gold, such as iron, copper, tin, lead, silver. These are unnecessary gross things in gold. As long as they are there, you cannot do anything with gold. When you want to do something, when you want to make an ornament, first of all you have to remove this gross stuff. Then only it is workable, malleable. You can do that. You can work something. You can make something. So just like that, as long as these 5 hindrances are there in our mind, we cannot practice properly. Therefore, first we are instructed to subdue these 5 hindrances. When we try to subdue these 5 hindrances, we can enter different levels. We can even practice jhana. In order to practice jhana, we have to subdue these 5 hindrances. That is at the beginning. When we practice mindfulness of body as body, mindfulness of feelings as feeling, mindfulness of mind as mind, we subdue these 5 hindrances. Now, when we come to this level, the 4th section of the Satipatthana, simply subduing is not enough. You to see these as they are. Once you see these as they are, they cannot stay with us. They cannot stay any longer in our mind. Sensual desire. These 5 are to be seen with 5 ways, 5 different ways. Each one is to be seen in 5 different ways. When it is there in our mind, we have to understand. So in order to understand, we have to have samadhi. We have to have good concentration. So with that concentration, we can see that, we can understand that there is sensual desire in my mind. That is the understanding. That is how you observe. As you have sensual desire, you have to understand. That is the first thing. Then if it is not there, you have to understand even that. You have to understand, oh, no sensual desire in my mind. That is the understanding level. That is again observation. You are observant, you are alert. While you are practicing, you know now sensual desire is arising. Whenever the sensual desire is arising, you have to understand, sensual desire is arising. Then it's fading. It's not permanent. It's impermanent. It's fading, passing. you to understand that it is passing, it is fading, passing. That even that is to be understood. And finally, you to understand it never come again. These are the 5 ways to understand sensual desire. Whenever it is there in the mind, it is to be understood. Secondly, whenever it is not there in the mind, it is to be understood. Third, whenever it arises, to be understood. And fourth, whenever it passes, to be understood. Finally, the fifth, whenever you can understand that it's never come, it is to be also understood. In such a way, these 5 hindrances are to be understood. Sensual desire, ill will, sleepiness and laziness, restlessness and worry, and doubt. These 5. So these 5 are important. At this moment, you can understand your hindrances are gone. Hereafter, no problem with your hindrances. That is the beauty. That is the beauty of the mind. Hereafter, you have no problem with the 5 hindrances. They all gone. So that is the first section. Buddha said, these 5 hindrances, Buddha compared this to 5 different bowls of water. Once he compared these 5 to 5 different bowls of water. You know, those days when the people wanted to see their face, they had no mirrors. They used the bowl full of water, like this. Bowl full of water. And when they use this, suppose the person wants to see the face, he goes to the first bowl. When he goes to see the face, it is full of colors, colorful water. As it is colorful water, you cannot see the face, because it is colorful water. Just like sensual desire. Whenever you have sensual desire, you cannot see things clearly. Second bowl of water. When you go to the second, it is boiling water. When the water is boiling, again you cannot see your face. It's just like anger, the ill will. As long as your will is ill, you cannot understand things clearly. Then the third one, when the person goes to the third one, it is moss inside, different little things inside. Even you cannot see the face properly. Just like sleepiness and laziness. The fourth, when you go to the fourth bowl of water, you see it is rippling, ripples in it. Again, you cannot see the face. It's just like restlessness and worry. And the fifth is muddy water. You cannot see face. So like that, we have to have clear water to see the face. Like that, our mind is to be kept clear, very clear mind to see things. So throughout our meditation, we have to maintain this states of mind, which is clear mind. That is why the Buddha emphasized the need of practicing, developing sati and sampajanya together, mindfulness and clear comprehension. Clear comprehension is very much important in our practice. Clearly understanding, clear comprehension is clearly understanding of the object. So with this we can understand, and when we come to this point, Dhammanupassana, we can completely cut off our hindrances. That is what is called release, liberation of mind. Understanding the liberation of mind we breathe in, breathe out. That is how it is said in the Anapanasati Sutta. You know, Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, discourse of mindfulness of breathing. Buddha pointed out 16 different stages of breath, where when you come to the 12th one, you can see the liberation of mind. Liberation of mind, liberating mind, breathing in, breathing out. That liberation means not the liberation of all taints, but the liberation of these 5 hindrances. So, that is the first section of the Dhammanupassana. First section. Now let's come to the second section. When you come to the second section, our task, the practitioner's task, is to understand his or her own 5 aggregates. We have to understand the Dhamma within the 5 aggregates. Buddha said the dukkha, suffering, the cause of dukkha, the cessation of dukkha, and the path leading to the cessation of dukkha, all these are within. So, whenever we practice, we have to observe our own nature. What is happening here? What is happening mentally and physically? So, while we are practicing, it is necessary to observe, as I said earlier, necessary good concentration. With that good concentration, we give attention to ourselves. When we give attention to ourselves, we can understand the nature of these 5 aggregates. What is the nature? The 5 aggregates, first 5 aggregates, form aggregates, feeling aggregates, perception aggregate, volitional formation aggregates, and consciousness aggregates. These are called aggregates. Why these are called aggregates? These are lot existing within time and space. Whatever is existing within this time and space is called aggregate. These are called aggregates because they exist within time and space. Time-wise, past, present and future. These 5 aggregates were there in the past, from dim past, not only this life. Many lives, immemorable. We brought many different shapes of aggregates, 5 aggregates, being humans, animals, snakes, devas, different realms. In different realms we got different types of aggregates. 5 aggregates, though 5 aggregates. Whenever we want to remember, suppose we have the power to understand our past lives, what can we remember? What can we remind? We remember our 5 aggregates. If we can understand our previous lives, we try to understand the 5 aggregates in our previous lives. Whenever we want to think, if we have power to understand the next life, it's the same. This life, the same. Whatever our connections, when we talk about persons, 5 aggregates. All these are 5 aggregates, nothing but 5 aggregates. So these 5 aggregates, whether it's past, future, the present, these aggregates, we talk about aggregates. These are what is called time-wise. And then space-wise, aggregates exist within, aggregates exist without, internal, external. Then aggregates exist gross, then subtle, inferior, superior, far, near. These are the time and space where these aggregates exist. The Buddha taught us to understand these 5 aggregates as they are. In order to understand these 5 aggregates as they are, we have to give attention to our five aggregates and understand these different levels. Whenever we think of an aggregate, we try to grasp it as mine. My body, my form, mine, me, myself, like that. So if we try to grasp it as mine, we cannot understand as they are. That's why we want to understand these five aggregates. To give attention, the Buddha said, give attention and understand the form aggregate as it is. When you see the form as it is, now if you see yourself, as you know anatomy, what you try to see, you try to understand these different organs, different things. But all these things, according to the teachings of the Buddha, all these what you call hard things, earth, solidity, you can simply see them all as solidity. Earth, solidity, Pathavi. Then you can see whatever watery matters, liquidity as liquidity. So, Apo, in Pali it's called Apo, Pathavi, Apo. Then heat is Tejo. Then Vayu is air. These four. Earth, water, fire, air. These four are there. So this, what you call this form, is formed with these four. Earth, water, fire, air. That is how the form came to be. Form is, this form is to be understood as it is form. Form is existing. Then the Buddha said, understand. When it is arising, understand. When it is passing, understand. Three ways. Five aggregates are to be understood three ways. As it is, whenever it comes to be, whenever it passes to be understood. So come to be means not your birth. When you are born, you cannot understand this form. But whenever it arises, whenever it's changing nature of the body to be understood. So if we can understand this form aggregates, the origination, how this form comes to be. Form comes to be because of four elements. That is how to understand form. Then feelings. Feeling comes to be because of contact. As there is contact, feeling comes to be. Now you see through the eye. When we see things, we have eye here and the form. Then the consciousness. These three come together. That is what is called contact. So it is because of contact, feeling comes to be. Through eyes, then through ear, through nose, through tongue, through body, and through mind. All these feelings come to be because of meeting of the three, which is called contact. Because of contact, feeling comes to be. Then you can understand. You have to understand how this feeling comes to be. Then feeling arises. Whenever feeling arises, you have to understand, now it is arising. Now you have to understand all this now. This is what is called vipassana. You understand, now feeling is arising. When you feel, my feeling, like that, if you try to see it, my feeling, you cannot see feeling. Whenever it arising, you to understand feeling is arising. Whenever it fades away. It's passing. Whenever it passes you to understand, it's passing. So those are the three ways to understand these five aggregates. When you understand these five aggregates, we can understand these five aggregates as not mine, not me, not myself. These are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and without a self. Like that, we can understand this. So the Buddha recommended this observation as well in the discourses. If you like to read that, you can read the characteristics of non-self, the discourse name, the characteristics of non-self. When you want to understand self, where is the self? You can understand these five aggregates. When you observe these five aggregates, Buddha said, you can understand in this manner that there is no thing to be called self or soul, within or without. Buddha gave very beautiful similes, five similes to understand these five aggregates properly. Let's understand these similes as well. Buddha said, this body, this form is like a form. Form, F-O-A-M form. This form is like a form. Form of, you must have seen different types of form. Form of form. Form is like a form, no core inside. It's bubbles, little bubbles. Forms, like some people, like we use different cups made out of different type of forms. It's like that. Form. Lately, once when I went to Sioux Falls prison, I went to see the Sioux Falls in South Dakota. I saw a huge heap of form. Then it hit my mind, oh, this is what the Buddha said. Form is like form. Form is like form. So, that's very, very important simile. Secondly, Buddha said, feeling is like a bubble. It starts and come up and gone. Bubble, just like a bubble. Even when it is raining, you can see bubbles, just like a bubble. Feeling is like a bubble. Then perception is like a mirage. Buddha said, perception is like a mirage. Then the fourth, volitional formations are like, Buddha said, like a banana trunk. But most of you must have not seen what banana trunks is. It's like an onion. You peel off layers by layers. You take off. There is no core inside. And finally, the Buddha said, consciousness is like a magician. There are 6 magicians: eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. These are different types of consciousness. 6 different magicians here. They perform their own magics to delude us. So, in this manner, you have to understand the second section of the Dhammanupassana. Now, let's come to the third section. Third section is understanding the bases. We have 12 bases, internal 6, external 6. Internally, eye base, ear base, nose base, tongue base, body base, and mind base. These are called bases. Their opposite are the external, like form, sound, then smell, taste, then tangible object and mental object. These different bases. These are bases. The Buddha said, when you practice mindfulness of observing mental objects as mental objects, you to give attention to your eye and understand the nature of eye. And then you to understand the nature of form, eye and form. Then ear and sound, like that, you to understand these different things. So the Buddha said, whenever you understand the eye, Buddha said, Chakkuncha pajanati. Understand. Pajanati means understand well. Understand well the eye. Then Rupecha pajanati. Understand the form. Then there is a fetter. There is a fetter. The fetter is desire. There is a desire. Eye, form, and there is a desire. That is called fetter. That fetter is the important thing. It is to be understood. Whenever the fetter is arising, you to understand. Whenever it is passing, you to understand. Whenever there is no fetter, you to understand. Whenever there is fetter, to understand. And finally, you to understand the fetter is no more, it's gone. That also to be understood. In this manner, 6 different ways you to understand these 12 bases. In 6 different ways you to understand their nature. So, to understand this fetter, they gave a simile. Simile of the 2 bulls, black and white. Suppose there are 2 bulls tied with a rope. Of course, this simile was given by Venerable Sariputta. Once Venerable Kottita went to Sariputta and asked Bhante, is this eye is fettered to form, or form is fettered to the eye? Is this ear is fettered to sound, or the sound is fettered to ear? Like that, he asked these questions. Where Venerable Sariputta said, eye is not fettered to the form, form is not fettered to the eye, and ear is not fettered to sound, sound is not fettered to ear. Like that, he pointed out. And finally he said, he gave this simile of the 2 bulls. Suppose there are 2 bulls, black and white, fettered, tied, tethered together with a rope. So when the people see these 2 bulls, they might say the black bull is tied to the white one, or the white one is tied to the black one. So Venerable Sariputta said, no, neither. It is not the problem. The problem is not the bull, problem is the rope. If you cut the rope, then no problem, they both are released. So like that, the problem here, problem is not the eye or the form. Problem is desire. Desire is to be cut off. Once the desire is cut off, you are released. Therefore, Buddha instructed, in this case, in this section, Buddha instructed to understand these 12 bases and their fetters. So that is the 3rd section. Let's now come to the 4th section, which is called 7 factors of enlightenment. 7 factors of enlightenment. In order to understand 7 factors of enlightenment, you have to have good wise attention. develop wise attention. It is with wise attention you can understand your mindfulness clearly. When you understand mindfulness, where are you to understand mindfulness properly? The 7 factors of enlightenment are mindfulness, investigation of the Dhamma, energy, rapture, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. These are called 7 factors of enlightenment. These are called 7 factors of enlightenment because they lead us to the attainment of enlightenment. The Buddha gave a simile, just like the rafters of the house, the peak house. Those days people use, when they build house, they use what you call ridge fall. So all the rafters were connected to the ridge fall, just like this. They all go all the way like this. So the ridge fall, they connected all the rafters to the ridge fall. Once the ridge fall is cut off, then all these rafters fall apart. Just like that, Buddha pointed out, in this case, Buddha pointed out, just like the rafters of the peak house, all the 7 factors of enlightenment, all these 7 leads you to the attainment of enlightenment. That is the simile given. So in this section, we to understand the 7 factors of enlightenment. Let's take the first one. Buddha said, observe this and understand this in 4 different ways. 4 different ways you to understand these 7 factors of enlightenment. What are the 4 ways? When it is there, when mindfulness, take mindfulness. When mindfulness is there, you to understand, I am mindful. I have mindfulness in my mind. You to understand that mindfulness. When it is not there, you to understand, no mindfulness. I am not mindful now. You to understand that as it is. As it is means not the positive side, only positive side. Negative side also. When it is negative, you to understand it as it is negative. When it is positive, you to understand it as positive. So, you understand when it is there in the mind, you to understand. When it is not there, you to understand. Now, whenever it is arising, the arising mentality, arising mindfulness is to be understood. And then what happens? As you observe, as you are mindful, you can develop your mindfulness. When it is developed, when it is cultivated, that also to be understood. Those are the 4 ways. When it is there, when it is not there, whenever it is arising, whenever it is developed and cultivated. Those are the 4 ways to understand. So in this manner, we have to develop 7 factors of enlightenment. These are, though we talk about this, not that easy to practice, but we have to understand this first. That is understanding, this to know this first. Know and see. That is how the Buddha taught us. Okay, let's come to the 5th section of the Dhammanupassana, the 4th component of the Satipatthana. 5th one is understanding the truth, the 4 noble truths. 4 noble truths are not 4 different truths. These are not four different truths. No 4 different truths in the world. Only one truth in the world. Truth is one, truth is common to all beings. That truth the Buddha discovered as unsatisfactoriness. Unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, suffering, whatever the name, it is there in the whole system of the universe, whole world. Everywhere, wherever beings, there is dukkha. wherever beings, whatever type of beings, they all have dukkha. As they are in the world, they have to go beyond the world. If they want to be free from suffering, they have to go beyond the world. Mentally go beyond the world. Loka uttara. So as long as they are within this world, they have unsatisfactoriness. Go beyond means they have to attain enlightenment. They are here, though they attain enlightenment, though they live here, those who have attained enlightenment, completely cut off defilements, they have no suffering. So, we have only one truth, that is unsatisfactoriness. Then why we talk about four? These are four sides, four facets of the same truth. Dukkha, the suffering, the cause of suffering. The second one is called cause of suffering. Then the cessation of suffering and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Those are the four noble truths. So we talk about this. The first, the Buddha said, dukkha is to be understood as dukkha. This is the problem. When we have dukkha, when we have suffering, we suffer. Because we are called uninstructed, worldly people. Therefore, we suffer with suffering. In order to understand dukkha as dukkha, we have to develop our equanimity in the 7 factors of enlightenment. As I said earlier, the 7 factors of enlightenment, mindfulness, investigation of the Dhamma, energy, rapture, tranquility, concentration and equanimity. This one, equanimity, it is to be developed very well. It is with that equanimity you can see dukkha as dukkha. That is the difference. So equanimity in this case is not the equanimity in daily life. This is a very well developed equanimity, equanimous mind. With that equanimous mind, you can see dukkha, unsatisfactoriness as unsatisfactoriness, dukkha as dukkha. When you see dukkha as dukkha, what you can see? Buddha said, see dukkha in 12 different folds, different ways. 12 types of dukkha. There are 12 types of dukkha. In this particular discourse, Buddha pointed out 12 types of dukkha. What are the 12? Buddha said, birth is dukkha, decay is dukkha, death is dukkha, then sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair is dukkha. Association with disliked people is dukkha. Dissociation from like persons is dukkha. And dissociation and what one does not get, what one needs, desires, is dukkha. And finally said, in short, these 5 aggregates affected by clinging is dukkha. So all these are called dukkha. Dukkha is to be understood as dukkha. And then the cause of dukkha. Cause of dukkha is to be understood as cause of dukkha. Dukkha arises where there is craving. Where the craving arises, there is dukkha. Buddha pointed out in the discourse, where this craving arises. Wherever the craving, there is dukkha. Craving arises the place where pleasant and agreeable nature is in this body. In this body there are places where the pleasant and agreeable nature. Buddha said, I is the place where it is pleasant and agreeable. I is a pleasant and agreeable thing. That is where craving arises and craving resides. Craving lives there, in the I. So, craving is in the I. So, dukkha is where? Dukkha is in the I. Where there is craving, there is dukkha. Then the Buddha said, the form, in the form, it is also a pleasant and agreeable thing. Form is a pleasant and agreeable thing, where craving arises and lives there. Buddha said all this in Pali, Buddha's language, very beautifully. Chakkung loke piya rupang sata rupang ettesa tanha uppajjamana uppajjati etta nivisamana nivisati. Whenever it arises in the I, and it lives there in the I. Nivisati means dwells there in the I. Dukkha. And then form. And then Buddha said, consciousness, I consciousness. That is the place where craving is. Then said the contact. Then feeling. Then perception. Volition. Craving. And then thinking. And examining. All these different places. Buddha pointed out 10 different places through the I. Craving arises and dwells there in 10 different places through the I. And the nose, the ear, the nose, tongue, body and mind. 6 multiplied 10. 60 different places. Craving arises. Whenever craving arises, craving is the cause of dukkha. There are 3 types of craving. Kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. Craving for sensuality. Bhava tanha, craving for existence. Vibhava tanha, craving for non-existence. It is because of this craving we cling to different places, different realms, and we are born again and again. So that craving is to be understood as the cause. Craving, as the Buddha pointed out clearly here in this discourse, in this particular section, Buddha taught us to understand this, the cause of dukkha as the craving arises in these different places. 60 different places. Craving arises. Then what is to be done for the cessation? In order to understand the cessation of dukkha, craving is to be cut off. In order to cut off craving, we have to observe these 60 different places and remove what? Craving. You to give it as we give attention to I, now what happens? We think, oh, this is my I. Mine. There is a little one here called soul or self. Like that. We grasp, we think that there is a soul here. There is a self here. Myself. I, myself. This is permanent. This is happy. This with the self. Like that. We grasp things. We grasp as mine. So, in order to cease craving, we have to understand this I is not mine, not me, not myself. This I is impermanent, unsatisfactory, without a self. Like that. You see with vipassana. This is vipassana, nothing but vipassana. You have to practice vipassana. Without practicing vipassana, no attainment, no attainments. So give attention and understand it. That is the removing, that is the cessation, that is what is called cessation of dukkha. For this the Buddha taught the path. Buddha taught us only one path. That is the Noble Eightfold Path. In order to understand Noble Eightfold Path, first of all, we have to understand, we have to have right understanding. With right understanding, we think, right concept. Right concept leads to our morality, right speech, right action, then right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These are called Eightfold Path. This concentration is very important, which is unique. Buddha taught us concentration with the support of the first 7 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. That is called right concentration. It is through this concentration one can realize the 4 noble truths as they are. Once you realize the 4 noble truths as they are, it is called right knowledge. Right knowledge is the 9th factor of the Tenfold Path. When you practice, develop, realize these 4 noble truths, you can liberate what? Liberate your mind. You cannot liberate. Not I am liberated, not this body is liberated. But liberation means mind is liberated. When the mind is liberated, you can realize, you can understand, it is liberated. It is liberated. With this, you yourself can say that from here I will not be born again. Khina jati. Birth is destroyed. Usitam brahmacharyang. I led holy life. Katang karaniyang. Done what had to be done. In this manner, one can attain full enlightenment, which is called arahantship. So friends, this is the way that the Buddha taught us. According to this particular discourse, Buddha taught us the 5 different sections. At the end, the Buddha gave his assurance. He said, monks, if one would practice, develop these 4 establishments of mindfulness in this manner for 7 years, he or she can attain full enlightenment. She become arahant, the enlightened one, or if residue remains, one can be a non-returner within 7 years. Then the Buddha said, let alone 7 years, within 6 years you can do that. Then said within 5 years you can do that. If you practice properly according to this particular discourse, particular technique, you can attain enlightenment or become a non-returner within 5 years, within 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, even within 1 year. Then said, forget about 1 year. You can do it within 7 months. Then 6 months. Within 5 months, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, within 1 month you can do. And said, within half month. Finally, the Buddha said, if you practice this properly, accordingly, you can attain enlightenment within 7 days. If not, you can become a non-returner within 7 days. That is the assurance given. So let's understand this wonderful teaching of the Buddha, and let's practice these 4 establishments of mindfulness. Whenever we practice these 4 establishments of mindfulness, we can develop our mind, we can understand properly the Dhamma, and one day we all can attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. May we all attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.